say, okay, I'm making a difference, I'm changing. But it's really till you get to that breaking point and you're on your knees and you're like, this is it. I fully surrender. I have to change this. I have to fix me.
As humans, we want to hide. We don't want people to see those moments where we are struggling because we think it's weakness.
Here's this 6-year-old child just wanting to feed her little brother and sister. I had to teach her how to make macaroni and cheese over the phone so that she could feed her siblings. That was one of those moments that I was like, these babies are not gonna make it.
If I tell my story, can it help change one other person's life? And I think that's a true testament to the work that you've put in.
My mom was super independent and wanted to prove that she could do it without Waylon's money, and also showed me that hard work pays off. And that almost stubbornness of hers is probably one of the things that carried me so far.
We often replay the things that we did wrong in our head. We can't change the past. However, we can change the future.
We do touch on some heavy topics, and you can always check the description for more details on this episode. The Turtz podcast and content in this episode is presented solely for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes. Neither I nor my guests are healthcare or mental health care providers, and we are not licensed or authorized to provide professional medical advice. For more information, please see our policy at TURTZED.com.
He was often split between the country world and the outlaw world, but it was when he learned to hold both together he found true transformation. Struggle, welcome to Turtz.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's an honor to be here.
Well, I am very excited to dive in today because you share your story both daily and in your music. Mm-hmm. And I think there's so much to learn from all of the things that you are sharing. And so I want to start with a very simple question of why is it so important to you to share your story?
Throughout my life and after everything that I've been through, one of the things that has kept me so motivated is all the mistakes that I made, the people I hurt, the times I was hurt, the people that I lost, that have passed away, or whatever the situation was. If I don't take all of this that I've been through and do something great with it, it was all in vain. Mm-hmm. And seeing a lot of friends pass away and, gang violence and drug overdoses and getting long-term prison sentences, and, I'm still here, making sure that I don't take that for granted, staying grateful, and using the testimony that I've gotten for some kind of good. For a long time, the bad things that we do in our lives, in a certain world, we use that as a badge of honor. Mm-hmm. When in reality, taking it and using it as a testimony of something that you've overcome is so much more impactful and can help so many people.
It's such a beautiful message because me personally, I can relate to this of we often replay the things that we did wrong in our head. Mm-hmm. And we can't change the past. However, we can change the future, and we can change our actions. We can share our story to hopefully help others change their actions. Mm-hmm. And also it takes a lot of work to get to the point where you can look at your life that way and be able to say, if I tell my story, can it help change one other person's life? And I think that's a true testament to the work that you've put in.
Yeah. If I can change one, and I've been blessed to have a lot of fans and supporters and people come up to me anywhere, grocery store or wherever, at concerts and online, and tell me how impactful my music and message, and them watching me go through those different phases of my life, make those mistakes, turn it around, get out, do what's right, rebuild, how much it's helped them get through whatever they're going through. And it kind of gives you a sense of responsibility, and it just drives you staying straight that much more. Mm-hmm. If I'm going in here and I'm seeing that lives are being changed, I'm seeing that people are holding on to what I say and what I do as a guide for what they can possibly accomplish as well. If I screw it up, I'm letting not only my family, but I'm letting those people down, and I'm almost proving the narrative that people can't change. Mm-hmm. So, I'm not one to let people prove me wrong. So I got to get up every day and remind myself, you know, and it's one of the beautiful things about going back into prisons is every time I walk through those doors, I'm reminded of where I've been, you know, and I tell people all the time, you were talking about our past, and I was like, don't let your past define you, make it refine you. You know, when they purify gold, they put it in a fire, pull it out, wipe off the imperfections, put it back in the fire. You got to go through those flames, you know.
Well, and your story has such duality to it. I think there's so many moments in your story where two things can be true. And I think the biggest one, obviously, is growing up in this legendary country family, and also in sort of this outlaw world. We'll use that for now until you start to sort of dive into your story. But how do you look back at holding both of those two things true in your life at such an early age? And how did you understand it at that point in your life if we go all the way back?
Yeah, I've always looked at it as straddling the tracks, right? Because my father's side of the family were all blue collar, lower class, working to be middle class, from West Nashville, from the Nations, and, you know, just came from super poor tobacco fields in Hartsville, Tennessee. And then my grandfather, being Waylon Jennings, who at that time, by the time I was born, was super successful, even though Waylon was the epitome of an outlaw in all forms, you know, and he came from nothing, from dirt poor. So I got to see what was possible, knowing what Waylon had came from. But also I spent most of my time in an environment that told you it wasn't possible. And I think that's one thing that might have separated me and a lot of people that I grew up with, is they just could never really grasp. And I got that chance on the weekends to go see what was possible. My mom was super independent and wanted to prove that she could do it without, you know, Waylon's money. And so we really struggled. She worked 2 jobs at sometimes while working on her music and trying to raise me. She was 16 when she had me. So a lot of times we were living in lower class neighborhoods and low income housing. But she also showed me that hard work pays off, you know, and that almost stubbornness of hers is probably one of the things that carried me so far. You know, every door shut in my face 100 times, and I just kept knocking and kicking and finding other doors. And so I think all of that kind of just created who I am. And so that I don't look back at any of it and wish things would have been any different, because I got exactly what I needed to get to be where I'm at today.
Absolutely. And I think your perspective on the resilience, you have to push yourself to be resilient. It's not something, you know, you can't memorize a math equation in the same way, right?
No, I don't think I really learned what true resilience was until watching, while I was sitting in a prison cell, my children, and watching how much they were going through, but the hope that they still had that daddy was coming home and gonna fix it all, you know, and watching the, like, they had every reason to not, you know, think that I was gonna, you know, get it straight and get it together, and every reason to give up. And so I think watching my children taught me resilience the most. I like to say a lot of times, I use the analogy of like a sports game, right? It's not over till that buzzer rings. And you can never truly lose until you quit playing. So you can be 100 points down, but you still have not lost. And the only thing that separates people that are truly self-made and successful is and the other people that maybe had more talent, is just they didn't give up. And I'm not giving up.
You certainly are not.
I'm not.
When you think back to that time when your children had all this hope, what was that like for you, knowing way more information than they did, right? Like really knowing what you were up against to make their hope come true.
Yeah, and I saw it in different levels too, because it wasn't just me, it was also with their mother, because their mother was battling addiction. As soon as I went to prison, she went down a super tough path, and they were drugged through drug houses, and my daughter's molested, and they were watching their mother just completely crash, and daddy wasn't there to fix it or to protect them or to save them from the situation. So that it motivated me, of course, to want to be better, to make sure that this never happens to them again. In a world where, I went to prison for selling drugs, which for a long time was classified a non-victimless crime, right? They became the biggest victims of all my actions, mistakes, decisions, because I was in prison getting 3 meals a day. They weren't. They were left to fend for themselves. They didn't have their father. My wife didn't have a husband. My mom didn't have her son, So all of those really just pushed me. It pushed me to say, hey, I can't control what's going on out there, but I can control what I do with this situation and with this time and who I become. And it forced me to just start stripping all the layers away and go, how can I be better? Who am I? Why do I keep going in and out of prison? Why do I keep making these decisions? For a long time, I justified it with those irrational beliefs like, by any means necessary, feed your family. And, it's like it's okay to do wrong for the right reason type mentality, and justifying my criminal behavior and my cognition with the conditions that I was in, or the hand that I was dealt. When really in actuality, the hand wasn't that bad. I just had to learn how to play it better.
Was there a moment where you said, it has to be different this time, or I have to make a change consciously?
Yeah, there was a lot of those moments, and it comes in stages, because at first you're like, okay, I need to change. This happened. And you might let go with one hand, but you're still holding on to this other, to everything that's comfortable to you, to what you know, or to what you've done before, or those irrational beliefs, whatever it is, those emotions that anger and resentment, stuff like. So you let go with one hand and say, I'm changing. But it's really till you get to that breaking point and you're on your knees and both hands are just up, and you're like, this is it. I fully surrender. I have to change this. I have to fix me. And I can't do it alone. I think one of the moments and some of the toughest things that I've ever went through, and say, oh yeah, well, I decided to change there. And I remember one time my daughter, Innocence, she was about 5 or 6, and I had called from a jail phone, and she was just screaming, crying. Her siblings hadn't ate all day. Her mom was passed out on drugs. I'm 1,000 miles away in a prison cell. And I had to teach her how to make macaroni and cheese over the phone so that she could feed her siblings. And that was one of those moments that I was like, these babies are not going to make it. Like, I'm the cause of this, and taking full accountability and being like, this is all because of me. It's not the person that snitched on me. It's not the judge. This is all because of me. And once you take that full accountability, then you can see it in full spectrum and know, okay, well, this is what I got to do. This is what I can't do. This is what I need to change.
And just trying to explain how to make macaroni and cheese is such a visceral sort of story where it's something that we as adults, right? Like, you can't think of anything more simple, right? Like, you put pasta in a pot and then you add the powder, and having that be the thing that sort of smacks you in the face, where in those moments of difficulty in my life, I just had to take care of myself, right? Like, I just had to figure out how to take the next step for me. And in that moment,
here's this 6-year-old child just wanting to feed her little brother and sister.
Yeah.
And scared. I mean, she was petrified that they were going to starve to death, or,
Yeah.
And in reality, it had probably only been, they hadn't ate all day, but they were going to survive. But in her mind, that's not just a pot of macaroni and cheese. So, being in that position and seeing how something that we take is so simple was so big for that little girl, was like, man, what am I doing? I got to fix this.
When you got to that point, what was that journey like as you started to take a step in a different direction?
Change is always scary, right? And it's humbling. I had to really just look in the mirror and go, I don't like you. I like to boast before that I was a great father and great brother and son and took care of everybody. But my actions, regardless if I was doing them for that reason, they were still selfish. I was still bottled up with anger and resentment from childhood things. And you have to look at yourself in the mirror. And I try to do it regularly. Hey, am I who I want to be? And really being honest with yourself. It's terrifying, but it puts it all in perspective. You know, and you can't really change anything until you're honest about what you need to change. You know, a lot of us would like to say, oh, no, I'm great. I just, I fall short here. I fall short there. It's like, but you got a lot of work to do.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because even as I look to have conversations on the podcast, there's a difference between being able to say, I went through something, and be able to say, I went through something and I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I saw. And then I started putting in the work. Yeah. Because a lot of the work, at least in my experience, and it sounds similar from something that you said, was looking at all of the reasons that I had anger and what that anger was doing to me, what that anger was doing to other people, and how it was controlling my life. Yeah. As you started to look in the mirror, if we were to go back, when do you feel like that anger really started to build and that resentment started to build?
It was early. I mean, when I was stripping away all those layers and really I was realizing that I was still holding resentment from a comment that somebody said to me in first grade. I had a lot of regret and resentment for my father's passing. It happened when I was 10. He called that day. I was outside playing football, told my mom I'd call him back later. By the time I got in the house that night from being out with my friends all day, everybody's pulling up to my house. They tell me, son, your dad's no longer with us. They told me it was suicide. So for all those years, I was just building up. I had all this regret and resentment because I didn't go in and answer the phone. And what if I'd have talked to him that day? Would he still be alive? So that was something that I was beating myself up about. Come to find out years later that he was murdered. And then I dealt with a little bit of anger over that. And then finding out who it was another decade after that brought a lot of peace. But I think the biggest thing with anger and resentment for me has just been accountability. When you really realize that everything that happens to you in life is a direct result of a decision you made. And once you go through enough stuff, and I'm sure that all the viewers have been through their share, right? Look back at everything and go, well, I made it through that, So it's like when you stop looking at those tragedies as tragedies or losses as losses, and you look at them as lessons and opportunities, and those obstacles become opportunities, and then you're like, okay, this is just another chance for me to, learn something from this, sharpen my blade, become smarter, more humble, whatever it is. I think a lot of those other emotions kind of fall out of place. I don't have anybody to blame. I can't be angry. I don't have anybody to be upset with. I can't have resentment. I did this, and accountability is one of the biggest ones. And then having faith, once you have faith that everything's going to work out for the best and that everything's happening how it's supposed to, and that in the long run you'll see, because my biggest tragedies became my biggest blessings. The worst things that I went through became the strongest points of my testimony. So now, I'm able to go into prisons and go into rehabs and reach people and look them in the eye and go, hey, bud, I was here. This is what I went through. You can overcome this too. You can do this. I'm no better than you. I just decided to make the change. So once you really have faith and accountability, a lot of those other feelings just kind of, they disappear, because there's no room for them.
And I think the resilience too.
Yeah.
I think a big piece that I get from the way you talk about it and your music, and one story in particular, which I'm excited to discuss with you, is that resilience. And I would love to dive into the Black Curtain music video, because I have so much respect for you pulling that off and being able to create that piece of music in the way that you did, and that music video in the way that you did. And I would love to hear what pushed you to make that music video in prison.
I'm sitting in prison and I'm fighting 2 cases, a state case and a federal case. And I'm in the county jail. And it was really it was resilience. I was saying, I can't let this, all the work that I've put in, everything building up to this moment, I made some bad decisions and it landed me in here. But I can't quit here. I can't lay down. And this was before I had made all the other changes, you know. So this is me letting go with one hand. I was like, nah, I have to keep moving. I got to figure this out. And they had been filming me for a while. They were going to do a reality show when I was in the streets and getting out of the streets and recording this album. And then it turned into, we'll just do like a little documentary piece. And then it turned into, we need to film something to make the judge not go as hard on you, because you really are changing and you're raising these kids and you're trying to do right. To just none of it worked, and I'm sitting in jail. And so I'm like, well, I can get clearance for y'all to come up here, because the Tennessean had came up there. The Nashville scene had come up and done a little piece on me. So I was like, I can get y'all in. Let's just film this documentary piece and see where it goes from there. And then when we got in there in the room, I was like, do you mind if I rap this song? And they were like, no, go ahead. And I was like, man, we have to release that video, because I wanted to get the message out. Regardless, like, I was already getting my time. There was no saving me from getting the time at that point. But I wanted the message to get out, and I wanted fathers that might be fighting their cases, or sons whose parent was in prison, or, I wanted people that needed to hear it. And I was like, we need a strong visual, and we pulled it off. And luckily, I had already left that facility and got to prison when the video was dropped, or I probably would have never made it out of that facility. They were really pissed. But it was amazing, and it turned out great. And, at first they were really upset about it, the sheriff's office, Darren Hall. But now me and him are buds, and he's great. I see him a lot at a lot of the functions that I do, and when I'm going and speaking at these rehabs, and because he's really involved in a lot of that, fundraisers and stuff for prison reform. And so we've built a relationship since then. But yeah, they were pretty pissed. They're upset. But it's just, you got to take the situations, even if we're getting ourselves into them, you got to just look at everything and find that silver lining. You got to make the best of it. And I wouldn't change it for anything.
Well, I think the piece of it that no matter how pissed they were, your intentions were there to do the right thing, to give people hope, and to be honest about your situation. And hindsight, of course, is easy to look back and be like, oh, that was great. But in the moment, did you have any fear about doing that? Like, were you afraid of retribution, or that it could get worse? Nah, man.
I really have learned to make the best decisions you can and deal with the consequences. Somebody, I think it was 50 Cent, said, fear nothing but fear itself. Right? Like, I was already in jail. I had already been to the bottom numerous times in my life. I'm going to always take that leap, because I thrive in chaos, and I thrive at the bottom. I do my best when my back's against the wall a lot of times. Try not to get there, but especially in like business and stuff, I'm going to take those leaps. I'm going to put it all on the table. I'm going to gamble it all. I'm going to bet it all on what I believe in, you know, and it's got to work because I'm not going to quit till it does.
Well, even your musical genre, right? Like taking your own personal lived experience and also understanding your family's history and not going necessarily in the direction that everyone thinks you should go in or people would assume you would go in takes a lot of backbone to be able to kind of go in that direction.
Yeah.
How do you look at, in one way, pushing back, right, against what everyone maybe thinks you should be doing, and then also that duality of really respecting the family history?
Yeah. Well, if Garth Brooks would have been my grandfather, I probably would have felt a little bad about maybe what I did, you know, or who I am. But Waylon he was anti-establishment. He was, I'm going to do it my way, and that's the only way I'm going to do it. So I came from that kind of mentality anyway. Loved rap music. You can't win with the haters, right? Because when I was doing rap solely, they're like, oh, Waylon would be rolling over in his grave. And then as soon as I start doing country, oh, you're trying to be Waylon. It's like, bro, I'm just being me. And I don't know how to be anything else. I work on being a better version of myself, but I'm just who I am. And even now, having an incredible rap career, I was the first one to really mix country and rap, you know. And so then it becoming this genre of country rap. But my heart has always been pulled towards doing country albums. I'm from the South. Most of my family's from out West. I love cowboy boots. This is how I've dressed, you know, quarter of my life at this point. So I always wanted to do country, and I started veering that way. And then there was a lot of people in my ear, like, if you're going to do country, you got to leave the rap completely alone for country industry to take you serious. So I played with that for about a year. You know, I was like, okay, well, let me shoot for country radio. Let me, you know, I got my Grand Ole Opry debut, such an honor. But there was still something missing, you know. And Brantley Gilbert was the one that said, Struggle, you can't forget to dance with the girl that brought you to the party. And so I just released a new rap EP a few weeks ago. And then in March, I'm releasing my big country album, Last Name. And I'm releasing a surprise rap album the same day. So my big country album comes out. I'm dropping a rap album the same day. And that's just kind of me being unapologetically me, saying I'm not going to be in a box. I'm going to stand on top of this box and just do struggle.
What's so interesting to me is that I grew up absolutely loving country because my mom is a huge country fan.
Yeah.
And also really loving rap.
Yeah.
And I have always said that there, to me, is more of a connection between country and rap than most music genres.
It's storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
It's the common people. It's the pain. It's the struggles, the heartache, the celebration. You know, they're so intertwined. And I saw that early on because, you know, 2003, I think, is when I sampled my first Waylon song for a rap song. And it was because I'm listening to these old country records. I'm like, they're talking about more gangster stuff than we are, you know, like, and they were really living that life. So I started sampling Waylon songs and rapping over them. And then I started bringing the players in and, you know, the steel guitar, Robbie Turner, he just passed away. It was Waylon's steel guitar player. Bringing him into the studio and he'd play steel guitar over these trap beats, you know. And it felt real to me, and it felt true to who I was, because I loved country and I loved rap, you know, growing up on 90s, 80s, 90s country, and then, you know, Tupac and the whole birth of hip hop was in my era. So when I was a kid, it's really the most natural of me. Mm-hmm. I've made some really country records and I've made some really rap records, but I feel the best when I'm blending them and when they just all become me.
Yeah. Well, it's that authenticity. I think that, you know, when your back is against the wall and you have to make a decision, you have to go with what feels most authentic to you. And I think what's so interesting is that as you described it, you can't win, right? Like
Yeah.
if you go rap, you can't win. If you go country, you can't win. And the thing that actually works for you is blending the two and holding them both together to honor both sort of worlds that you've lived in and telling that story.
For sure. And I've got an old school country. I love old country. And so I had been writing with a bunch of the old writers that have wrote like all the big hits from the 90s and stuff. These guys are just gems, so precious. And I have a whole collection that I'm picking through now because I had about 40 songs to choose from of just super old school country. And I'll be releasing that in the fall as well. I'm shooting for 4 albums this year, so.
One a season.
Yeah. Shooting for 4 albums this year at least. Because I feel like I got too comfortable just giving my fans 1 album a year. Then I had to pick, am I going to drop country? Am I going to drop rap? I'm just going to drop them both. Mm. And I know it's a complete nightmare for my publicists and for distribution and trying to, promote all these different places. Like, just pick one thing. I can't. I'm just going to be me, man. I'm enjoying life. My kids are doing good. I haven't ever found a record deal that felt good, and I'm not going to be putting anybody's box. So just, I want to be able to always be honest in my music, tell my story, tell my testimony, give it to them raw. I'm not going to sugarcoat it or butter it up for them. I feel like that'd be a disservice and would discredit so many other people's journeys by doing that.
As you think back through your own journey from where you were when you got that phone call about making mac and cheese to where your kids are today, really thriving.
Yeah.
How do you look at your strength as a father differently from back then to what it is today?
Yeah, I don't know that I ever really truly gave myself as much credit as I maybe should have until recently. My 17-year-old daughter, Courtesy, started a foundation called Foster the Future. And they're raising money for children who are aging out of foster care because they had ended up in foster care. I came home from prison, worked to get them back, regained custody, and have built this life for them. And I never took time to stop and pat myself on the back. I was working. I'm still working, and how we're our own worst critics. So when other people are like, oh, you're a great father, I'm like, well, I could be better, right? And I believe that wholeheartedly. I can be better. I can be better every day, and I got to keep striving for that. But I was asking her why this is what she was passionate about and wanted to start this nonprofit and put all this time and energy in her senior year when she could be, enjoying her senior year. And, she doesn't have to work right now. She doesn't want to. She does, just because that's how she's, built and what I've taught her. But I also give her the freedom, like, baby, you can quit. It's your senior year. Like, enjoy your senior year. And she goes, Dad, all I can think about is those kids whose dad didn't come home and fix things. And so then that puts it in perspective. I mean, I'm so proud of her because the way that she was raised and all that she went through and having everything stripped away from her, from the home that we lived in when I was locked up to, her mother passing away from a drug overdose. Even though everything's been stripped away from her, her main focus is still making sure that she's giving enough, right? Or she's not taking more away from me or adding to my plate. And that kind of compassion and that kind of, because they didn't have stability. They didn't have anything to hold on to. And watching her now, she gets up, she goes to Bible study, she goes to church, she works a full-time job, senior in high school, works out every day, has an incredible relationship, going to Wofford, and I give her all the room to be free and to not have to worry about things, and she still doesn't. It makes me so proud, her not wanting to put any more financial burden or not wanting to put any stress on me and willing to hold all that on top of her shoulders for me shows me that she appreciates everything that I've sacrificed and everything I've done, as well as it speaks so so much volume to her character. And it's just a testament that people that go through horrible things can come out on the other side of it almost unscathed. Like if you look at her, she drives around in a brand new Lexus SUV, drop dead gorgeous, beautifully dressed, straight A student, honors, almost a 30 on her ACTs, going to Wofford. You would never know that that little girl lived in trap houses and was drugged through the mud and homeless at times and ended up in foster care and lost her mom to a drug over. You'd never know that looking at these children. You first glance, you think, oh, those kids probably had a silver spoon, when really they never did, and they just overcome. And it's a testament that all of us can overcome that, because we all have that same warrior inside of us that those little girls and all my children had in them, that brought them through those dark moments. Like, what if I wouldn't have made those changes? Where would those babies be?
It's understandable, because when you're in the moment, as you have described, your back was up against the wall and you didn't have any other option but to fight for your kids and do everything you possibly could to prove that they should be back with you. And even still, it took years after they were back with you for you to be able to look back and say, yeah, like, I did make mistakes, and also I did everything I could to support them and help them get to a place where they could thrive in life. What was that moment like when you started to acknowledge to yourself the work that you had done to change the course of their life?
It gives you a little bit more confidence. All my daughters are always like, for years, they're like, oh, you're the best. And my response is always, I'm just trying to be good enough, you know, because I feel like it's an honor to have these children. I've got the best kids in the world, and I'm just trying to be good enough for them, you know. But once you really grasp, like, okay, shit, I'm doing a good job. Now I need to keep striving to do better, right? We have to have that as men. We have to feel like, and women as well, especially in, you know, for mothers, we have to feel like all the work and the sacrifices that we're making is for a good reason, or that we're doing it and that we're doing a good job. Otherwise, we start to get defeated, right? And that's when we'll take steps back. It was really a good feeling when she said that to me, and I was like, man, I really did that. You know, because I just want to give the credit to them being great kids, right? It's kind of like when we go through hard times, you know, and we have to kind of put this shield over them and blanket them from the heartache and the pain, and we have to act like everything's okay when we might be terrified inside. But if we show any signs of fear, you know, they're automatically going to feel that, and then they're going to panic. So I think it was the same thing with the other. You know, I just try to blanket them from everything, and I just try to give them all that I could. And I see more of my faults than they do, of course, because I'm looking in that mirror. You know, I could go out here and make a terrible mistake, and my kids are going to still think I hung the moon and love me. We have to look in that mirror every day. So it's harder for us to really grasp how great we are sometimes, because we know our faults more than anybody. But I think you have to find that. You have to find that confidence, and you have to be proud of yourself. Otherwise, it could slow you down a lot.
Do you think part of that was forgiving yourself?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that comes with it, too, because I mean, last week was 10 years since I've been out of prison, and it's flown by so fast.
I think people so often don't stop and acknowledge what they've done in terms of growth and strength, because it means that you have to look in the mirror and say, well, this is where I started. And that is unbelievably difficult.
Yeah, for sure. And especially when, you know, there's times when I start to slip, being home 10 years and going, okay, I've accomplished all this in 10 years. But there's moments where I look back at the day I got out and go, man, I wish I could find that guy again. Right? Because I had been in prison all this time. I'd made all these changes. I came out. I was just bright-eyed. You know, I hadn't been told no, and the door slammed in my face, and, you know, tried at a bunch of things that didn't quite happen the way I thought. You know, life will beat you up. You just got to you got to make it strengthen you. You know, it's just like tearing down muscles so they can rebuild stronger. You just got to go through that process.
How would you define strength differently today than you would have that day you got when you came out of jail?
Well, I had been through a lot in my life. And so I thought I was pretty strong. But I was entering a whole new world, right? My old world strength came from being a step ahead, sometimes being violent, being able to protect yourself at all costs. It was a little different, right? When you're entering into this world of change and you're completely sober and you're clear-minded, you have nothing to escape. You know, you're not covering up all your problems with drugs and alcohol. You're not, you know, running from anything, and you're facing everything. And now you've got not only this reputation to uphold of, I turned my life around and all these people watching, this is my testimony that you can do it too. There's a lot more pressure. So now I see strength in a lot more mental ways than before. It was mostly physical or strategic, right? You know, you lead with your heart, but you can't let your mind break, because there's going to be so many things in our daily life, regardless what we're doing in business or career or love and relationships. There's going to be so many things that tell you that you're making mistakes or tell you that you can't, you won't happen. You just have to, you know, I look back at times when I thought it was all over. You know, like I thought I wouldn't make it through the night, whether it was physically, financially, whatever. And I'm still here, and I made it through so much. And the more you go through things, the stronger you get.
As you're talking about it, I keep going back to you fighting for your kids. And there's something about that fight that really describes the strength that you're talking about, the drive to keep going that is more mental than physical, because there's nothing that you can do except the right thing when you were trying to prove that your children should be back with you.
Yeah.
And the juxtaposition of you working hard and proving yourself in music is also very similar, because you have to do what's right for you, right? Yeah. And in those moments, they're so different, but they're so similar.
Yeah.
And a lot of that strength was almost repurposed to fight for your kids and stay on course and do the right thing, because something changed. What sounds like in that phone call where you said, like, I have to do right by them.
Yep. And
I want to make sure that they have a different life than I had. And it's so beautiful that they, as you described, your daughter, who is a senior, really focused on making sure that other people are also taken care of.
Yeah.
And that she can see the bigger picture. Like, it, even without saying it, it really sounds to me like she understands how much work you had to put in to make sure that their life could be different. Yeah. And if she can help one other child in the foster care system.
Oh, for sure. You know, when I was fighting for the kids, when I first got out, part of that accountability, all right, that I had been working on so hard. And I still have to, accountability is one of those things you got to work on every day, because it's so easy to just push the blame off on somebody else to make that situation easier. I have to work on it daily. But I told DCS, Child Services, I was like, be hard on me. You're not my enemy. I'm not going to treat you that way. Both of us have the same goal, and that's for these kids to be in the safest, best household they can be in. And if I'm not that guy, don't let me have them. And then I had to humble myself and say, I have to prove that I'm deserving of these kids. They don't know me. They don't know my heart. They don't really know what I'm thinking. And I've been away in prison for 5 years. All they know is statistics, and all they know is what they normally deal with. So I have to prove them wrong. And I have to prove them wrong and prove myself right. Same way in the music business. You know, it's like I got to listen to the fans sometimes. I might not like what they say, I'm going to always do what feels good to me and what's true. But your fans will call you out if you're doing something that's a little corny.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it's a lot in the same sense there as well. And I tell them all the time, you know, we used to always have that saying, like, you ready? Oh, I'm born ready. I wasn't born ready. I had to go through all the things that I went through to get ready.
Yeah.
And all these little things that seemed like hard times ended up being all the things that prepared me to be able to be who I am today and give them the life that I've been able to give them. And now, because of that, they do appreciate it because they have been through so much. I don't have any spoiled brats. Mm-hmm. They're spoiled, but they're not brats. You know, like even my daughter, she's going off to Wofford and she's like hounding me about, she's trying to get all these grants and stuff and all this stuff. And she's like, Dad, I need you to help me fill this paper or whatever. And I'm like, baby, don't worry about it. And she's like, no, but I want to take some of that pressure off of you. So yeah, them seeing what their mother went through and then the end result in that, you know, if we can take all like that tragedy of losing their mother probably saved all three of them's life. And now they're going to go out and do great things with their own testimonies. And they're going to hopefully, that ripple effect. The ripple effects are crazy when you really think about it. Like just me making that decision, I made that decision in that moment to change for myself and my family. The byproduct of it was the music that has now helped hundreds of thousands of people get through things. I'm able to now go into prisons and speak to people, and then they're calling home and speaking to their people, and then they're changing their life, and then they're going out and being good fathers. And, you know, so like the ripple effect of that decision can be so great. And I try to preach that to the guys when I go in, like, man, you don't know how much a smile can just ripple across 100 people in a day. Just walking by one person and smiling and saying, how you doing today? You know, and just engaging in, then they go on. It may have made their day better, and then they go on and they do the same. And, you know, so it's like just kindness spreads and inspiration spreads.
I think also sometimes, and the irony of this, being a musician and having your story be in the lyrics, the irony of it was the things that you didn't say, but what you did that really made the biggest difference for your kids. Because growing up and feeling like I was a bother, or that I was never good enough, or that it wasn't worth showing up for me in the way that I needed, you not only showed up, but you acknowledged, like, if I'm not good enough, then don't give them back to me. But you made sure that that didn't happen. And whether or not it's talked about, that's the message that your kids have, that you love them so much that you would do everything in your power to make that change. And I think that as a parent that is the ultimate for a parent. Like that's what every parent should strive to do for the kids they bring into this world.
Yeah. And you know, I tell the fans when they're like, you know, you've inspired me so much to keep moving. I'm like, well, hearing that inspires me, and seeing you do better inspires me to continue to be better. You know, same way with my kids. You know, my daughter, Courtesy, when she was little, I used to tell her she was a princess, and one day she was going to live in a castle. And I called home from prison, and her mom was so mad. She was like, what have you done? Our daughter thinks she's a princess. We're out here in the projects, and she's running around in a little princess dress telling everybody she's going to live in a castle one day. You're setting her up for failure. That little girl lives in a castle now, you know, and she's a princess, 100%. And me telling her that, my son, Sincere, I got a 14-year-old named Sincere, incredible son, beautiful, athletic, smart, couldn't ask for any better of a human. But when I first got out, I was like, oh, well, we're going to live in a mansion one day. He would hound me every other day. Dad, when are we going to get that mansion? When are we going to get that mansion? Till I made it happen. You know, it inspired me. It's like, this is what this kid wants, you know, and this is, but you speak that stuff out loud, you know, things that seem crazy and impossible. You just got to speak them and believe them.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, there's nothing is impossible. That's one thing that I hope that I can prove to everybody is like, regardless where you're at in your life, your story is not over. It is not impossible for you to have the most crazy fairy tale turnaround ending. You just got to believe. You got to believe in yourself, and you just got to believe it's possible and go put the work in.
Yeah.
Faith and hard work. It's really all it takes. Just don't give up. Keep moving. Be good to people, you know.
I think you continuing to tell your story and being honest about these really difficult moments that I think as humans, we want to hide. We don't want people to see those moments where we are struggling because we think it's weakness, but it's the moments that we can talk about after, that we can say we learned from, that's where real strength and power comes from.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Men cry. And we have to be able to face those weaknesses and face our darkest fears and just move towards them, face them, run straight at them. Because then you realize that like a lot of those fears they were nothing to be scared of. The real true fear would be dying, not have ever doing anything that you really loved or wanted to. You know?
Absolutely.
When I go, I don't want to have any regrets. I don't want there to be anything that I was like, man, I really wish I would have done that.
With everything that we talked about today, what is the message that you want to leave people with?
Never give up. Everything is possible. Anything is possible. There was a lot of times when I didn't think I was going to be able to pull it off. I didn't think I was going to be strong enough to stay out of trouble and to not divert back to my old ways of thinking or overcome addiction or, you know, I was so comfortable in misery and chaos. I didn't know if I'd ever really be able to, but every day I got up and chose not to. Just don't give up. Just keep going. There's everything that you could ever dream of is right on the other side of you making that step forward and making those changes.
I have one more question for you, but I am going to insert something here because it's something that I don't think that I've told anyone before. But when I was like 27, 28, I got a tattoo of an infinity symbol on my side. And then one of the sort of like crosses, it's written, never give up.
Wow.
And at that moment in my life, I knew I was in trouble because I knew that I was really close to just giving up on life. And I got the tattoo because I needed a permanent reminder that like every time I looked in the mirror and saw it, that I wasn't going to give up, no matter how thin of a thread I was holding on to. Like I couldn't give up on life.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, even saying it now, like in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is going to kill my mom. Like this is going to kill my brother to hear that. Yeah. And like, I've talked about it before on the podcast on how depressed I was, but I think that idea of like, never give up, like you can always make a change in life. And I think that's part of the reason I love doing this podcast, because everyone's story is different, but the common thread is that no one is giving up, no matter how dark of a place they get into. Like there is a way to make a change in your life. What is something that someone's told you that's impacted your life and you'll never forget?
So many things. I've got so many jewels from so many incredible people, but I have one recent. I was just out in New Mexico shooting some music videos, and the last couple years have been a little rough, a little rocky, right? In the music business, you have highs, you have lows, you get a number one record, you have a hit, flying high, you change the quality of life, and then if you don't have a hit the next year, it's a little rough. I've had a couple really rough years, and I've had to use everything, every tool, everything that I've learned. I've had to lean on my faith. I've had to lean on my children. I've had to really just like to get through these last couple of years. They were tough. And I was just out in New Mexico shooting some videos, and I stopped by a good friend of mine. His name's Chimney. He makes a lot of my turquoise jewelry. And he's like one of those old native guys. He's got a patch over his eye, and he like only speaks in parables, right? And we hadn't seen each other in a while. He didn't know what I was going through. And he walked over to me. I came in his shop to see him and love on him and get some turquoise. And first thing he walks up, he goes, "Struggle. God is a farmer, but he will not plant his seeds in rocks and weeds. You need to clean your field out." And even at the moment that I'm at in my life, where a lot of things are going really good, it was just that reminder, like, what do I need to do here to be able to receive what's ahead of me? You know, can I really, you know, I go into prisons, I do all this, I'm constantly, you know, but inside there's some more things that I need to fix, and there's some more weeds I need to pull, and there's some more gravel I need to dig up, you know, and just kind of keeping that in the forefront going into this next year is like, I'm going to spend this year really just clearing my field out.
I love that, especially because harvest comes every year. And so no matter how great or how difficult a place you are in your life, there's always rocks and there's always weeds.
Yeah.
And it's paying attention to them and not ignoring them so they don't overgrow and they don't damage the crop. There's always work to be done. And I think that is such an incredible message.
Yeah, and it
leave
also
people
put
with.
the last couple of years in perspective.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, why didn't I have such a fruitful bounty this year? You know, maybe I had some things that I was still holding on to. Maybe there were some things that were blocking, you know, little things that I need to get rid of. So,
well, I have a feeling it may be in some of the music you're going to be releasing over the course of the next 12 months.
yeah, for sure.
Well, now we turn the tables and you can ask me any question you want.
How do you get your hair so nice? Your hair is like perfect, man. Like if I could grow hair, I think I can grow hair. I shave it, but I think I can grow hair. And you've got me wanting to see if I can grow my hair back out. Do you have like a secret? Is there like some certain products that you use or something that just makes it grow that thick and luscious?
It's wax.
Wax?
Yeah.
What's the base of the wax? Is it like coconut oils or anything like
jojoba wax, and that's it.
All right.
It's interesting because even this morning I was like, God, like it would just be easier to shave my head.
Yeah.
And I did it over the summer and I'm trying to let it grow back. And I think that
it's back there from the summer?
Yeah. It grows like a weed.
Yeah.
But there's something about taking care of yourself and getting up and blow drying your hair and putting wax in it. Like there's something about those little moments in your day where you can find ways to take care of yourself that make you feel good, that like, it's, if I shave my head, I don't have to do that and I still have a great day. But
we need routine, right?
You need routine.
Like I notice, because I get up early in the morning, I do my morning cardio fasted. And then I have like a little routine of getting my, I listen to my first song of the day, kind of motivational. And I try to stay off social media for a couple hours. And I have a little routine. And if something messes that routine up, it does throw the day off. Yeah. So don't cut your hair.
No.
I might grow mine out.
We'll at the end of the year, we'll do a comparison. I'll send you the wax.
Sounds good.
Well, Struggle, thank you for joining us today. It was such a pleasure.
Do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe or follow button, because trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. And if today's episode got you thinking, laughing, crying, or maybe even rolling your eyes, write a review and tap to rate. Now let's be real. This convo doesn't end here. Hit us up on socials and don't be shy. Slide into our DMs. We love to connect. Thanks for hanging with us today, and catch you on the next one, because our journey together is just getting started. Remember, stay curious, live authentically, and keep turtzing it up.